Hello, everybody. Let me turn this music off, and then we can switch screens, and hopefully this will not fail as completely as it did earlier when I was testing it. Welcome.
Oh, I have video. Yes, yes.
Video.
We can
Okay.
do it.
Okay. Oh my goodness. It's working. It's working. Everybody keep your fingers crossed.
Hold on to something.
Hey, Stryker. Hey, Kino. Video killed the radio star. Yes, they did. Okay, and our first story is already up. So what I'm going to do is just y'all can see my desktop. I don't even care now. In fact,
no,
I'm just going to minimize
stop.
all the things so that you can see my beautiful desktop and the temperature in Memphis. Actually, no, you can't see that. It's not picking that up. But you see my glorious Alice Madness Returns desktop. So welcome to the Sunday newscast. I am Squeaky Bee, otherwise known as Bonnie.
And I am Vinny Parisi, otherwise known as the editor-in-chief of Indie Game Magazine.
Otherwise known as Vinny.
I'm sorry for all the comic books I read. I don't have an alter ego or an alias. You get what you get.
No, you're Marvel fan. You're otherwise known as Marvel fan.
Oh, that's true. If you want to be my friend on Xbox, well, you can't because I don't have Xbox Live right now. But
you have Steam.
Later.
Marvel Fan 88 on Steam.
Yeah,
Add him.
that's true.
Add him.
Yeah,
Add
you know
him.
what? That just makes my laptop crash. Don't friend me on Steam. I did that yesterday. I started friending people, and now I have all these things popping up on my desktop, and I have to close Steam down.
Oh, you can turn off the notifications.
Oh, can I? Yeah, see,
I'll
I don't know
teach you.
anything about anything.
I'll teach you when we're done. I will teach
All
you,
right.
young grasshopper, the ways of the Steam. Okay, so
Anyway,
this weekend we had a fundraiser for the Operation Supply Drop 8-Bit Salute. And Vinny, why don't you tell folks about that?
yes, we did. So we did a charity event in support of Operation Supply Drop. They call the event 8-Bit Salute. It's the third they've been doing it. So we had a funding goal. Operation Supply Drop, if you don't know, is a charity organization, and they send care packages of games and that sort of stuff to troops all over the place to give them, something to take their mind off being out in the field and all of that. So we made our goal, just because you're giving me a heart attack and making things come down to the wire. But we made our goal.
Yeah, right after
yeah,
Vinny started freaking out about us not making our goal, we made it. So I have faith.
It's not that I don't have faith. It's just I don't like cutting things so close. Makes me nervous. But thank you for everybody who showed up. It was a lot of fun. It was a 24-hour event, and it was awesome. The streams were great. The games were great. It was a lot of fun. So I'm glad we pulled it off.
And I got food poisoning, so that was fun.
Yeah, shout out to Kino for being a clutch streamer for us. He was basically a fourth tier backup because it was supposed to be Pee-wee, and then she couldn't make it, so Squeaky was subbing, and then Squeaky couldn't make it, so our backup sub was Aesthetic Gamer, and he wasn't around for that block, so then Kino came in.
Yep.
Oh, great job, Kino.
Very nice, Kino. He woke up literally 10 minutes before that slot. Fabulous.
Wow. That's fantastic. So yeah, the event went really well. I would like to do more charities in the future. I kind of want to plan out maybe do 4 or 5 a year, depending on how easy they are to coordinate and
okay.
if we can set stuff up in time.
I'll have to tell you about that too.
Yeah, excellent.
Working with Wolfpack Gaming has been an eye opener for me for charities. But maybe we're doing things the hard way. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, so thanks for that. And what was the next item on our agenda?
Random news is what we're kicking off with.
Random news!
We're a little backwards today, I guess.
Yep. So our first piece of random news, this happened actually a month ago. I'm going to see if the stream actually... Yes, it actually showed up. Fabulous.
Yeah.
About a month ago, actually almost exactly a month ago, Vic Gandatra, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he left Google+. And there's a whole lot of speculation about what that means for Google Plus, but since a lot of our audience consists of gamers, gamers use YouTube, YouTube is integrated with Google Plus, like everybody universally hates it. So we were actually talking about that a little bit yesterday, and I think Vinny has some really strong opinions. Mine is mostly just like, good. I hope it gets out of YouTube. And Vinny's is a little more, I think, in depth than that. So if you want to talk about that a bit, Vinny.
Uh, Google Plus just really breaks my heart because I want so much more from it than it was willing to give me. When Google Plus first started, at the time it was debuting, I didn't have a Facebook. Well, I had a Facebook, but my friends had to make me a Facebook because I refused to get one. I don't like Facebook. I think it's a dumb idea. I don't know. I don't really like sharing all of my personal stuff. I know I say this now that all of my personal information is everywhere for people to contact me, but a few years ago, I really wasn't big on sharing my life story with the internet. And so my friends were like, but there's privacy settings. And I'm like, you have never met the internet. Privacy settings are not a thing on the internet.
Yep.
So they made me a Facebook or whatever, but I really wasn't using it. So when Google Plus came out, I figured, well, Google basically already has all of my information. So if I'm going to choose a social network, I might as well choose Google's because there's nothing they don't already know.
Yep.
And I really got into it, and I thought it was a fantastic interface. I know it updated like every 2 weeks, so if you liked it before, don't get used to it because things changed every other week. But
Like
still,
the
it was
weather.
really nice. It's a really nice, clean interface. It worked really well. I had a lot of fun with it. Google Hangouts were amazing when they came out. And then it didn't do so well, so they figured, they had to try to get more people to sign up, and that's when they did forced integration with YouTube, and then it became a problem.
Yeah.
Because the second Google Plus forced integration with YouTube, everything was ruined. I hate that I can't post videos on my Google Plus anymore because then it makes a comment on the YouTube page, and I'm not commenting for the world. I'm commenting for the people I privately shared that video with.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what are you doing there, Google?
And I think my
So
big problem with it. Do you want to finish?
can
Do
you
you
hear
need
me?
to finish?
Can you hear me? No, can the chat hear me rolling my eyes because I'm rolling them so hard? Because Google just breaks my heart sometimes. Go ahead.
I think the biggest problem that I was having with it is every time, because I've got like 5 Gmail accounts for different things. I'm always logged into my main personal one, but I've also got my email address is linked to that one. And so whenever I tried to log into Google or YouTube, actually more recently, it became this huge clustercluck. Like I couldn't just stay on one name. It really wanted me to use my personal email. And I'm like, no, I've already told you this is the one I want to use. This is the identity I want to use. And it's like, but you have this other one too. And I'm like, no, YouTube, stop. I want to be on this account only. Well, do you want to use your real
Yeah.
name? No, that's why I set up a nickname when I first created this damn account. Can you stop? Like, that was the most annoying thing for me. And I don't even log on to YouTube anymore, like, unless I absolutely have to. Because I was going to set up, a Patreon, like try to do videos and transfer streams over, and I was just like, you know what, screw that. I'm not gonna worry about it. So what they're trying to do instead, I don't know if people um, are reading this article. Like I know I've got it up and I'm like scrolling up and down, like, probably making everybody sick. But uh, the Google Plus strategy, what they're going to try to do is they're basically saying, I give up trying to compete with Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. They're like the new MySpace. They're just like, screw it, I give up. So they're trying to move those employees. They've got like 1,200 employees working for G Plus. They're going to be moved to Google Hangouts for Android. They're going to be using Android for a platform for a bunch of different things and creating apps and stuff like that. And so that's where they're moving their core Google Plus employees to, because Google Plus was this guy's baby. Gundatra. I can't pronounce his name. I'm very sorry. Uh, so since that was his baby, like, and he's gone, like, they don't care anymore. So they're just not going to do anything with it. But they're going to try not to get rid of those employees because of, that would be an even bigger like jerk move. So hey, Lunatic
Yeah.
Fringe, how's
I
it going?
Hopefully, I don't really know what they're going to do going forward. Obviously, they want to lessen forced integration with Google Plus. They've heard people. I mean, they should have done this a year ago, but they finally decided, okay, people are really just not going to let this fly. Um, so I assume YouTube within the next 6 months to a year is going to be a little bit less intrusive, which is something they really need to do because people just don't want Google Plus, and it's a problem. So less forced integration would be a good thing.
Yes, definitely. No virus scan. No. My computer is just having all kinds of like identity crises today. Um, but this article says the report says that Google itself isn't even sure what to do with the rest of the Google Plus team members. TechCrunch says that G Plus is not officially dead, but with Gandatra gone and the resources being stripped away, the project seems more like The Walking Dead. Um, like every employee's yearly bonus was tied to G Plus. By the way, I don't know if people realized this. Like I heard about that and I went, "That's kind of a big gamble," and they
Oh
gambled and they
yeah,
lost. So if Google
yeah,
Plus, that's why they tried to push so hard for the integration, is because if Google Plus wasn't successful and didn't get the numbers, they didn't get their bonuses. So that there's money behind it, which everyone was like, "Brr, money," and other people are like, "It's not money. It's just them trying to take over the world." No, it's money.
yeah. It's a shame too because I mean, like Google Plus really worked well, and it still works well. Like I enjoyed using it as a social network site. The features and everything are really intuitive. It's just everything else outside of just using specifically the social networking is a nightmare.
Yeah, it really is. When I had to create an account for another, article I wrote. I wrote one article and they made me create a Google Plus account for the email I was using, and I was like, no, I don't need more than one Google Plus account. Okay, thanks. All right. Anyway, does anybody have any comments on this? Because we're about to move on to actually game dev news. Oh my God, what we're
We're
here
getting there.
for? What are we here
I mean,
for?
we could just well, the next part I could talk a little bit while people are thinking about it. It's just I just wanted to mention that Game Dev Market is launching this week, May 30th, which is
Eee, look at
Friday, I
it!
believe,
Look at it!
and I am really excited for Game Dev Market. We've talked about it a little bit before, but one of the things developers talk to us about most often when they email us, a developer will email us information about their game. And a lot of times they'll also ask, if you have any advice in terms of marketing or how to spread the message or, developmental tips, could you please let us know?
Hmm.
And a lot of times I didn't really have some place to send them. I mean, there's tips and stuff online, or there's always Reddit where you can ask questions, and the community is very responsive. But we didn't really have a place to send developers, especially first-time indies, to get programming resources. And so Game Dev Market is a place to buy and sell 2D, 3D, audio, and GUI assets. So any developers, doesn't matter if you're just starting or not, it's going to be a community-driven ecosystem for sharing resources, and I think I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be great for the community.
Yeah, I'm ridiculously excited about it. Like I'm trying not to just, you know, talk out my butt about it though because I'm not a game developer. I'm not, somebody who does a whole lot of stuff. Like I'm helping to develop a game with one of the other IGM writers, but she's handling all the game dev stuff. I'm handling storyboard stuff. Like, but this is going to be such a great resource for people who are just starting out. Who want to get into game dev, aren't really sure, about sprites, about maybe backgrounds and things like that, and to have this kind of thing that everybody can share what they're doing, um, and make a profit on their talents. If your talent is making sprites, but you really don't know what to do with them, go to Game Dev Market. You know what I mean? It's like it's great. It's like I don't know. I think it's wonderful. It's like
Yeah,
An Etsy for game dev.
yeah, and I mean they're already looking to improve it as far as what assets you can post. Future, not at launch, but soon after, they're hoping to get custom source code and physics engine integration, so you can sell your own custom engines and stuff. And that's going to be a really big deal too, because a lot of people need help with custom engines.
Oh yeah,
So I just
definitely.
shared a link in chat. We actually have an account with Game Dev Market. And if you want to join our personal alliance, you can do so by following the link I posted. We'll post it on YouTube as well for people watching the archive later. We have over 160 developers signed up with us.
That's awesome.
There's no bonus. There's bonus incentives if you sign up early. So if you sign up before May 30th, you get 100% commission on all your sales for June, and you get some bonus experience too. And they'll talk about on launch day what experience is going to get you guys, but it's some cool stuff. So definitely sign up before Friday.
Yay! I'm gonna have to open that on my laptop because, yeah, I don't have that for my desktop is just like single function right now. Like there, I can't do anything else with it right now. Okay, we also have a Kickstarter called.
Yeah, tied to a news piece.
Yeah, it's time. Okay, we've got a news piece. I'll click on the news piece first. We interviewed, actually, Anthony Stevens, one of our writers, interviewed the developer Rob Sala. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Yes.
And the lead
Yes.
designer Henry Walsh
Yep.
for IGM. And so it's an anti-bullying game, which, let's be frank here, most of us have an interest in games like this for varying reasons. And it is a
Yeah.
gamer stereotype that there's bullying, inherent in most of our lives. And that's part of the reason a lot of people do get as in depth into video games as they do. And this kind of addresses that. So if you want to read the article, I believe Kino has it. Oh, Kino just put the Kickstarter
Yep.
link in there, but it's I
Um,
can't even like describe it. Like it's Vinny, go for it because I'm like feels.
well, actually, I mean, we can, if you want to pull up the Kickstarter, we can even show the Kickstarter video, a couple minutes of it if you want, so people can get a look at it.
It,
As far as content wise, the story of Sumo Boy, it's basically about this young boy who has, problems being bullied. He's also an orphan. He doesn't know too much about his mother. His mother disappeared a while back. His father, though, is I believe, a very famous professional sumo wrestler, which ties into the combat system a little bit because you use sumo techniques. But in any case, so he gets transported to this fantasy realm where he finds out that his mother, this isn't spoilers because they mention it on the Kickstarter, his mother is an important elemental mage, I guess.
mhm.
And so she has a weapon that she passes down to him that can control the four elements, which he then uses to vanquish the evil, fantastical monsters that are plaguing this realm so he can rescue his mother. If you want to show the Kickstarter video, we can do that now.
Yep. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you had everything said.
Yep.
All right, and we'll go
Yeah.
full screen for this. Yeah, go ahead and allow it. Gosh, Kickstarter. All right, here we go.
Alone in a crowd, crowded inside with great doubt. Doubt is the villain. The villain lives within us all. All hope rests on one.
So that's Sumo Boy.
Yep.
And it looks pretty epic.
Um, yeah. Yeah, I love this idea. I mean, we talk about all types of educational games and all that stuff, and this kind of ties into that a little bit. Games with the positive message. Uh, the one thing that troubles me though a little bit is it's an anti-bullying game with a fair bit of violence in it, combat wise. Now, there's a lot of things that they're doing right, like the sumo techniques, because sumo by its nature is a very defensive art. It's
Hmm.
not really aggressive, and it's not meant to hurt people so much as evade combat. So I like the integration of sumo, but the sword combat is a little bit, um, I don't, not against the message, but I don't know. I think sometimes we run into the problem of when people play games, and if you're the kind of person that can play a game or watch a movie and have it affect you on an emotional level, sometimes it has a little bit too much impact. And the question of an anti-bullying game with violence, I think sometimes it teeters on the issue of, well, what happens if then the person who's being bullied demonizes the bully, and that turns into violent behavior on the person being bullied's end. Um, so I like the part with the sword where you can use it as a healing elemental and solve puzzles by talking to people or like fixing them, I guess, by healing them. But sometimes when the game is too focused on violence, it kind of loses the message a little bit. I don't think that's going to be the issue in this case. I'm just saying it's something to bear in mind when developing something like an anti-bullying game.
Yeah, another game that I believe we've talked about, Papo.
Hmm.
That game is about a kid whose dad is an alcoholic, and he escapes into this fantasy world where Papo, which means monster, in Spanish, is you know like you lead him around with coconuts and stuff, and he licks frogs, poison dart frogs, to get high, and then he gets really, really, really angry and chases you around. And in order to stop him from chasing you, you have to give him a rotten coconut. And there's no combat in the game. It's all evasion. It's all using your wits to survive. And that's, I think, a better representation of how bullying actually plays out for most people. But
Hmm.
for this kind of game, like, I do understand that in order to make it more of a platform action type game, they had to have combat.
Yeah.
It's not so much a story game as it is a platformer, from what I understand. Like, yes, there's a story element, there's a big story element, but it's not so much discovery of that story as it is playing it out. And a lot of people who are bullied want to feel like there's something that they can do about it somewhere. And so I don't have a problem with the combat being in the game, because then you get into these conversations about how much of a game translates into real life. How seriously do people take it? Does video game violence cause real violence? And that's been empirically proven to be false. So if a kid can get out their frustrations in a video game, I say more power to them.
Mhm.
That's yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
My psychological opinion. Hey Alex, what's up? And
Um,
massive backlog. Hi, your name is like dark gray, and I've got the gray background for Hitbox Chat. So I was like, who is this? I had to like lean really close into my laptop. I look like a nerd right now. Um, all right, so
do
we've
we?
got
How
the
much? The Kickstarter has a few weeks left. It really just started. Can you see what their goal is if you scroll up so everyone
yeah,
can see?
there's 4,336 AUD pledged of $100,000, or yeah, $100,000 goal. And they've got
Okay.
32 days. I think it's doable. I really think it's doable. AUD is Australian. Yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
can just look down and see that the that tapper is from Australia. Um, so that is, I believe, a bit more than American dollars.
Our money's not worth anything.
Yeah, our money's really going down to crapper, but um, I think it's doable, and they've got a bunch of really good stretch goals. Like, I mean, they seem like really basic things, but then when you realize how much work actually goes into some of these things, you're like, oh yeah, I guess that's yeah, I guess that should be good. So $100,000 the game gets made. For 150,000, there's a complete and character lore codex with art. 200,000 cinematic cutscenes for the entire campaign. That's kind of a big deal because that is where we're getting into the actual storytelling. Because the game as it stands it's just a platformer. This is where it will become more than a platformer. All cutscenes fully voice acted at 250,000. Text and voice localization, that means translations for everybody, at 300,000, and at $400,000 they're going to have console support, and that's pretty damn awesome. I think the cinematic cutscenes for the entire campaign is doable. I hope I'm not like going to sit here and doom them by saying that, but I think they could get 200,000.
Yeah, I mean, the bill's pretty reasonable for especially the quality of the project, and they've been working on for a while, so they have a very clear vision and sense of scope. So it's very manageable, I think, for sure. People just kind of have to hear about it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if y'all want to share it on Twitter and whatnot, if you go to the Kickstarter page, then they do have a tweet this thing, right? Yeah, here it is. Right under the video, it says share, tweet, and embed, and you can do that, or you can log in and click on remind me, and they will actually send you updates about the Kickstarter, so you can be reminded about it, like when things happen. Which they update things pretty like weekly, I think. They're pretty good about updating their page. So
yeah,
sorry.
Definitely. So definitely keep an eye on that one.
Yes, it looks really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this comes about. But of course, we'll only see what comes about if they make their goal. Just to show you guys, at the top there's a tab that says updates, and this is where they show you what exactly they're doing with the game. So there's that, and of course we've got the interview on IGM if you want to read that. Anthony wrote it, so share that.
It's actually we have two articles up right now. There's an interview, and then there's a more in-depth preview of the game, which you can just find on the website. Yeah, if you just search Sumo Boy on
we don't have related.
You'll find it.
We don't have the related articles. I was just going to click on that. No. All right. So there's that. And then our next item
is about a PS4 game called Basement Crawl.
Which makes me laugh.
If you have not heard of it before.
I'm so sorry that the headline makes me laugh so hard. Lowest rated PS4 game, Basement Crawl, getting rebuilt as an apology.
Now, it's a pretty interesting story. So the developer, I think they're called Bloober Team, Bloober. So they made this game around launch time for the PlayStation 4 called Basement Crawl, and it had a lot of neat ideas. It was kind of like Bomberman, a little more tactical because you have to place traps and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it's a little more strategic than classic Bomberman would be. But people were really excited when it came out, or right before it came out, rather. And the trailers and the screenshots all looked good. But when the game came out, it just really didn't amount to much. It didn't meet expectations. The content was a little lacking. It got pretty terrible reviews across the board. The Metacritic score is it's something really low, like 25 or 27.
It has a 27 Metacritic score. It's the lowest rated PS4 game, and it's got a 1.9 user score.
Yeah,
that's pretty awful.
Yeah, it was a mistake. But the good news is, and this doesn't really happen all that often, is the developers not only acknowledge that they made a mistake and that they let their audience down, but they want to do something about it. So they've decided to rebuild the game from scratch, new engine, new graphics, totally overhaul it. And for anybody who bought the game originally, you are going to get this upgrade for free. And you can either download it as a patch to the version you have now, or just re-download it completely if you would like. They haven't set a release date on when this is going to be finished yet. But either way, people who bought it the first time around will not have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to read a little bit of the quote that the developers issued to, I think they spoke to GameSpot in an interview. Mm-hmm. And so they decided that, and this is Bloober Team's Mark, I believe it's Colhoun. He told them, "Firstly, I think I should start this off by apologizing to those of you who bought Basement Crawl and have been waiting for us to fix it. The game was a mess for both you and us. And skipping a little bit further down, he says, I know this isn't really the way things are usually done in the industry, but I think that if you have put a bad product out to people, it is your job to do what you can to fix that, even if it means going back to the drawing board on a game that has already been released. And I think that that's something that the AAA industry could really take to heart
Yes.
because
Yes, I agree.
I'm getting a little tired of games coming out physically unfinished and then patched later because they ran out of development time and they decided it had to be shipped, in October to meet the holiday season deadline.
Yeah, they put
Um,
pressure on themselves because of past successes, and then they think, well, if we're doing this, I mean, we got to do it, and there's no room for pushing it back. And I mean, you got to also remember that with AAA game developers, there is that pressure because I mean, you hear how people complain when stuff gets pushed back, and the more people complain about it being pushed back when it's released, the more critical they are of it. So I think what
yeah,
the AAA developers do is they hedge their bets. They basically say, you know what? If we develop patches, then people will be happier when the patches come out than if they have to wait longer for a complete game. Because if we never patch it after that, well, they're just going to complain about the same stuff. It's a really complicated thing releasing a game, and so this was a ballsy move,
yeah,
for Bloober Team to just go, you know what, you guys, this sucked. We're sorry, and we're gonna fix it. Rather than just
yeah.
being like, well, it's not our fault. It sucks. We'll release a patch eventually, I guess. They're stepping up and they're taking responsibility for it, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
more indie developers do have the flexibility to do that, which is an amazing and unfortunate truth of game development.
Yeah. Now, I mean, the obvious comparison, I think, to a situation like this is the fiasco with Aliens Colonial Marines. And to put in perspective what the AAA, what typical AAA studio would do in comparison to an indie studio is this game comes out and it's awful and full of broken promises on like a Fable scale, really. They just didn't deliver anything that they promised. And
Yeah.
instead of taking any sort of responsibility, it became a he said, she said of blaming other studios that were involved, and it became a huge mess, and nobody ever really apologized, to the best of my knowledge. It was always somebody else screwed up on the other end, or, you get what you get. So that's the worst way to handle a situation, compared to this, where, I'm much more willing to forgive this team and give them another chance on their second game because they owned up to their mistakes. And you know what? They're giving the update for free, which is, as much as you can ask for. You bought the game, you'll get the finished version as they intended, a little bit later than you expected, but nonetheless, they're doing that work for you and not charging you for it. And good on them.
There was a game recently, they released it and then they were going to release the director's cut for free to people who already owned it, and then they ended up charging as much for the director's cut as they did for the original game. And I wish I could remember what it was, but it was an indie game. And I was really disappointed in them for that because I was like, you guys announced this, and now what? We have to pay twice for essentially the same game with a couple of, extras in it. Like, that's not cool. So, I don't know. That's completely off topic, but I guess another example of how even an indie game developer can be kind of a jerk.
Yeah, that's pretty outrageous. I will say, I mean, I'll take any chance to shout out my love for CD Projekt Red. But one of the great things that they do, especially with the Witcher series, is they put out all of their updates for free. And if they remaster the game, like they did this for the original Witcher, if you bought the first Witcher, and some of you might not know, the first Witcher when it came out really wasn't that good. It had a lot of potential, but it fell short in a lot of ways, and it really just didn't feel like a finished game. So when they released I don't know if they called it the director's cut or remastered edition, whatever they called it. They
Director's
re-released
cut.
the original Witcher. Yeah,
I have it.
and it was a free upgrade for everybody who purchased the original one, and that's the best way to do it. Because I mean, it's there to buy for people who are new to the series, but if you already took a chance the first time around, you get the update for free, and I think that's a great way to go about it.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. Oh God, SimCity. Brought up SimCity.
No, we don't talk about SimCity. I try not to talk about EA in general, but SimCity is a heartbreaker.
It was terrible. Yeah, The Binding of Isaac, the new one, Rebirth. It's the way that Edmund is doing that game is it's like he's doing the same game, but he reimagined a few things and he expanded a few things and he's making it to where it can stand on its own merit while also attracting people who liked the original game, which is pretty cool. Because he found a product that resonated and he wanted to make it like um, more of itself. I don't even know how to word that.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yep, it's me and Vinny. Philip. Nick is LARPing this weekend, so that's why he's not here.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I wanted to mention that in the intro because I actually wanted to talk a little bit about that. Yeah, Nick is away LARPing for the weekend. It's a weekend long event. Thank you, Alex. And I was curious because I mean, I spend a lot of time with Nick doing this newscast every week, and we talk a lot before and afterwards. And he hasn't really told me too much about LARPing or his personal strategy for it. And I'm curious what kind of character he rolls as. LARPing, for those of you who don't know, stands for live action role playing. So I'm curious, like what kind of character he plays during these. And I don't know if it's like a reenactment or anything, or if there's a plan ahead of time. But I'm just curious what kind of character he would be. So do you have a guess, Squeaky, as to what kind of character and class Nick would play as?
I see Nick playing as oh gosh, you know what? He could be one of a few things. I could see him playing a white mage.
Mm.
I see him as lawful neutral. I don't see him as like chaotic. Well, he could be chaotic, but I don't see him as evil anything. I don't think Nick can be evil. So I think
Yeah.
he's probably he's probably chaotic good actually.
Mm.
Yeah, because
I
not
see
necessarily
him.
lawful, but yeah, a monk
I
or a
see, like,
priest. Yeah.
I know that I know he likes the first person games. So I know he likes kind of being up close and personal. So I feel from like a combat stance, I see him more as a warrior. I really don't know what character type he would be, as far as like human or dark elf or orc or anything. I feel like if he was going to be an up close bruiser, he'd be more along the lines of either some type of vanguard or orc-ish creature.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
He's gonna love that we talked about this when he's come.
See, now I have to show that YouTube video. Hang on. You guys are going to see my browser real quick. Um,
Yeah, so he'll be back next week though. So those of you who miss him, hopefully we'll have the whole Trinity back for the first time in a while because we traded Nick for Squeaky today.
Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt!
That's a good one. Massive backup says just be a rogue, don't show up until the end and high five everyone.
Death!
I'm so sorry. That is literally my favorite YouTube video ever.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's a good one though. Those guys are having a good time.
They are, and I
you
think
ever-
that's what's so funny is they don't give a crap. They're just like, you know what? I'm having fun. But the thing is I'm imagining Nick now throwing little rubber balls at people and screaming lightning bolt.
Yeah, I don't know. I have an appreciation for people who enjoy it. I don't know. I feel like before you LARP, I think the first stage is cosplaying, and I haven't even gotten that far yet.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's true. Well, yeah, you've got to find a character you're comfortable with. A lot of LARPing is actually it actually comes out of tabletop RPGs as well. So you already have a character sheet in mind. And my 8-year-old nephew, by the way, is like a budding LARPer, and he creates his own games already. Like he wanted to like play an RPG game like while we were out eating one day. Like my sisters we were all three in the same place, and my nephew came along. We went out to eat. He's like, "Let's play my game. What do you want to be?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "I think you're going to be a mage, and I think you're going to be an evil mage, And I think that he like just made up my character for me, like while I'm sitting there eating a salad. Like I was like, "What are you doing, kid?" But he just wanted to play through the whole game, and that's all he wants to do these days. And on one hand, I'm like, "Oh God, he's gonna be teased so bad." But on the other hand, I'm like, "Yay, he's using his imagination and actually like playing and doing stuff." So it's like it's kind of a mixed bag, but there's not as much of a stigma surrounding it anymore, simply because of the way that it's grown in video game circles as well. There's a huge overlap between video games and LARPing these days.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think cosplay plays a big part of that now that conventions are such a big deal.
Exactly. So
yeah, there's definitely less stigma.
Tangent. It's what we do best.
Listen,
Hey, Kirby.
Listen, at least we got a good half hour, 40 minutes of news this time around. Usually most of the show is Kickstarters, and there's nothing wrong with Kickstarter previews, but for newscast, we've been a little light on news the past couple weeks.
And all we're doing is making fun of Nick.
No,
I'm just kidding. We're not
fun.
making fun of him. I'm just kidding. Lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt.
But speaking of Kickstarter previews,
oh, this is so sad. This is sad. This makes
time
me
for everybody's
so
favorite segment.
It's time for everybody's favorite segment.
Yeah.
Look how sad. Okay. The Few by Floyd Bishop was this huge project. It was this very big, like, they're asking for way less than the Sumo Kid. Like, they're only asking for $45,000, and they had to cancel it. And before we watch this video, I want to show you guys something. Let's scroll down and see who's working on this game. Okay? Or was working on this game. I don't know if they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, well, all right, we'll talk about it after the video.
Oh, you want me to show the video first, or?
No, I was going to say we'll talk about what their plans are for the future after the video.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But they didn't get close. They got $1,626 pledged of their $45,000 goal. That's not even close. Like, almost doesn't count in this case. So Floyd Bishop, who is from Sony Online Entertainment. We've got Jason Millot. He's worked on Free Realms and Clone Wars Adventures. We've got Lauren Gillespie designing characters. I mean, come on. Nathan Hurst designing the elements. Another Sony Online Entertainment alum, Jessica Rojek. David Hall, excuse me. I can read, I promise. I recognize his name. Julia Prescott is writing some of the dialogue and cinematics. She did Aquabats. And this is my big thing right here. The guy who composed the Invader Zim theme song, which of course I'm going to play for you. Because of course. Kevin Manthe. I'm going to play this real quick.
Go for it.
I am disappointed, son. I am disappointed.
It's a cruel irony that if ever there was a need for that I Have a Mighty Need gif,
I
it would be from
know!
this game.
Which we don't even have a command for that, do we? I think somebody deleted it.
Oh,
no, they
we
didn't!
gotta-
It's there! It's there! Yes!
I mean, come on. Now we'll talk a little bit. The first thing I want to say, I think somebody in chat, I think it was Pieman, asked how long was their Kickstarter up. It was only up for a couple weeks, and it really breaks my heart because I wanted to talk about this last week, and we ran out of time on the Kickstarter segment, and then I came back to check on it seriously 3 days later, and they'd canceled the project, and I was crushed.
I know!
but-
I saw this and I almost cried. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I feel like crying a little bit. Do we want to watch
So
the video real quick?
We'll talk about the game itself in a second.
Okay.
The video's really short. It's less
Okay.
than a minute. the thing I want to stress is that the light at the end of the tunnel here is that the game itself is not canceled. Just the Kickstarter project is canceled. What the team is going to do is make a few smaller games beforehand to make some money, so they can continue developing the Few. So the Few is not canceled by any means. It's just on the back burner for right now, and they will continue development after they put out a few smaller games and try to raise a little capital, and then potentially launch another crowdfunding campaign once they're further along in development.
Real quick, Water looks like Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh. He really does.
I was going to say a certain pickle from the Angry Video Game Nerd, for those of you who follow AVGN's series of videos.
If you want to be my
but yeah,
lava, just kidding. They did it.
We can definitely play the video, and then I want to talk about the gameplay, because this is actually a really amazing concept.
Yeah, okay.
For a game.
All right, I'm going to play the video real quick. Oh, that's loud. Okay. Shortest Kickstarter video in existence, I think.
Yeah, well, the other thing about this is that it's in the conceptual stage. So we can play the other video, the YouTube video, that just shows the prototype characters. But before we do, actually, because it spoils something.
Well.
Gameplay-wise, it's a 4-player co-op beat 'em up with a little bit of puzzle elements as well to it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, the cool thing, they haven't really explained this part yet, but one of the interesting things about the 4 characters, they're obviously different elements, and these characters can combine at different stages. So you can combine any 2 characters to make a, what do they call it? Let me look here. They call it a super element when you combine 2 together. If you combine 3 characters together, it makes a mega element, and if you combine all 4, it makes an ultra element. And these are, it's a timed mashup where you have however many seconds they determine, and the character is super powerful and does all these crazy moves and looks amazing. The only question I had, they didn't really talk about how merging characters affects multiplayer. Like, what if you're playing with 4 people and then you merge them all together into one character? Who's in control? But anyway, now we can show the video to show a little bit of the concept.
Well, Kino
now, bear in
just
mind,
said, Kino just said you have to have a prototype for the Kickstarter. Really? There is. There's a link right under the main video that says you can play an early version of the game right here. I just clicked on it. It's loading. So
they do have a prototype that you can play.
I can show you guys in a little bit, but yeah, let's show the other video first while that's loading. Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know you were responding to Lunatic Take. I'm like, there is one. All right.
Lunatic Fringe just said.
It's like really loud.
Oh, sorry. You can play it. It's fine. I'll talk about it after.
Okay.
Greetings, gamers. This is Jason Molot back with another advanced look at The Few. We've got a lot to cover this week, so let's get started. First off is our revised character select screen, which shows off the personalities of our characters and makes picking a character much more fun. Next, we've made the jump to fully 3D backgrounds. Additionally, we've given a new paint jobs to the generic bots. Move over, Daleks. The hottest of the elements brings her own brand of combat to the game. She's faster than Earth, well, everyone's faster than Earth, and she has the fastest 3-hit combo out of all the characters. Next, I'd like to show you the first boss of the Few, Scorpio, the Armored Scorpion. His tank-like armor prevents all but the strongest hits. If only he had a weak spot. And finally, we've added our first fusion to the game. When both players have a completely full fuse bar, they can combine their powers into a monstrous creature where they share control and attacks, dealing tremendous damage. Thank you all very much for watching. I have been Jason, even to the Scorpion. Please visit our Kickstarter site for additional information, including a playable demo. Thank you all very much for watching. My name has been Jason Malott, and I'll see you next time.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. So what made me laugh was he's like, this has been Jason Malott with, and then all of a sudden it just cuts back, like, let me kill the Scorpion.
Now, Lunatic Fringe in chat said that it seems to me like to have any chance at all of a successful Kickstarter, you almost have to have a completed game, and then asked, doesn't that sort of defy the point of Kickstarter? I don't think that's entirely true. I think what you need is a completed vision and a working prototype. If you have the entire, scope of the project mapped out for people to see, and enough concept art and a working prototype, a demo is really important to give people something to try. If you have all of those things in place, usually that's enough for a successful Kickstarter. I don't know what went wrong here. I think maybe people just, obviously that's a really rough prototype, that video you just saw, and I think maybe that turns people off because they feel like it's a long way away from being developed. And, by the time there's an actual working prototype and it's, halfway to completion, they'll probably just try crowdfunding again. And I think people lose interest. But
Do we want to see
a game
the
like
prototype?
It's all right. We're cutting it pretty close on time as it is.
Okay.
But with a project like this, they do have a very clear vision, and they have some great ideas, and it's definitely one to watch going forward. I know the Kickstarter is canceled, but as I said before, it's just on the back burner as far as the game's development is concerned. And I think that when they come back with a little bit more polish, and maybe putting the game closer to being half completed, I think people are going to look at this again and go, how did we let this slip through the cracks the first time?
Yeah, I have a mighty need.
Yeah, that's basically the story for this. If they ever do a documentary about this game, there's the subtitle.
It's going to be called Mighty Need. Yep. Yeah, and I'm excited to see what they do, like, to see how they are going to be able to get this project back up, because I really, really, really want to see this for so many reasons. Like, they've got so many great people who were working on this project. Yep. They need to get John and Vasquez to, like, tweet about it. Like, then they'd have all the money they wanted, or they could ever want.